Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I am Fort Worth Star-Telegram columnist Mac Engel. He's Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., who just is now joining us after watching one of the more exciting games in college football this season. Unfortunately for Clarence, his beloved Texas Longhorns did not beat Michael Penix and the Washington Huskies on Monday night, on New Year's night. Exciting Sugar Bowl, but nonetheless, Texas season is over. We will talk about that more later here on Cowboys Overtime, which is brought to you by our good friends at Window Nation. Instead, Clarence, we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys repeating as NFC East champions. There it is. All right. Want to make sure that we give due credit. Clarence, you and I both predicted that we thought the Eagles, even though their schedule the last couple of weeks was a joke, was going to blow one of these games. And sure enough, on Sunday in Philadelphia against a bad Cardinals team, they went out and blew it. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray and James Conner ran all over them. So by virtue of the Eagles losing, it has opened the door to Dallas winning the NFC East. Cowboys close out the regular season on Sunday in Washington, where you will be against a horrible Commanders team. Clarence, I'm going to put you on the spot. I've written this down. Can you give me scenarios where the Cowboys win and they win the NFC East, correct?
Correct.
They cannot win the NFC because the San Francisco 49ers have the tiebreakers and all that good stuff. So the 1 seed and the bye in the NFC goes to San Francisco, correct?
Correct.
So it looks like if the Cowboys close this out, they will finish at worst with the 2 seed. And I think that would give them 2 home playoff games. Is that right?
No. Well, it guarantees them 1.
1.
They have to win 1, and then they get 2. And
so, okay, I'm assuming. So right now, and it'll change a bunch on Sunday. Right now, as the 2 seed, they would play the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
Which is the 6th seed, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they play the 6th seed. So if they win that game, which they would be a heavily favored team to win that game, if they win that game, is there any scenario where they would not host a divisional round game?
No, they will host a divisional round game. Yeah, they guaranteed. They only guaranteed 1 because you have to win it.
Right.
But if you win it, that's all I'm saying. If you win it, then you host the next round because you're still the 2nd seed. And the good news here is that it's crazy because we've talked so much about the Cowboys and having to go on the road, and they lost at Buffalo, they lost at Miami, and now they're going to have to be road warriors in the playoffs. And and look what the gifts gave them: an opportunity to play 1, 2, possibly 3 home games at AT&T Stadium during the playoffs. And I say 3 because you never know what happens. If someone upsets San Francisco, the championship game is in Dallas. And one thing that I think is a point of order, because everybody goes crazy about you have to win on the road. You have to win on the road. Well, no, duh. You know how tough it is to win on the road. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys organization has not won 2 playoff games on the road since 1975. Okay, when they went to won titles in the 90s, it was because they were at home. They didn't have to be road warriors for more than 1 game. And so to sit up here and act like, there's something wrong with you if you can't win on the road. Well, no one does that. There's only a few people and a few teams in history who take the wild card and go on the road and do that. That's not the blueprint to get to the Super Bowl. It is having home games. So for a Cowboys team that is riding a 16-game home winning streak and have won 8 straight at home, this is the best possible scenario. Of course, they have to win on the road to guarantee it.
Okay, Clarence, before we get into the specifics of what was, however you want to cut, a very exciting Saturday at AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys defeated the Detroit Lions. Before we get into the specifics of that, they had a hard stretch coming up. They won. They beat Seattle. They got blown out at Buffalo. They barely lose at Miami. They barely win against Detroit. Do you feel any different about this team today than we did back, say, December 1, December 5?
No, I mean I've always thought it was wide open, and to me, there are no Baltimore's a juggernaut. Let's be honest. I mean, they what
Well,
Baltimore
I don't know, Clarence. The quarterback's kind of quarterbacky. I don't know if we like that guy.
quarterbacky or quarterblacky, whatever you want to say. But what they've done the past 2 weeks of destroying San Francisco, Miami is just crazy. And because of what we thought of San Francisco, and certainly what we know what Miami was offensively. And what they've done the past 2 weeks is crazy. So they're a juggernaut. But, I mean, yes, the 49ers have been bullies to the Cowboys, but they have not been bullies to anyone else. I mean, they don't. I mean, who they beat like they beat the Cowboys this year? I mean, it's like,
I thought they roughed up. I thought they roughed up Philadelphia pretty good. Did they?
Yeah, they did. But of course, the Cowboys did too. I mean, that Philly team has been living on borrowed time for a long time.
Yeah, you're right.
And so that's a bad football team. So I think it's wide open for the Cowboys, wide open as it's ever been. And certainly this, But again, the Rams are playing well. I mean, there are no easy outs. And it's the playoffs. There shouldn't be any easy outs. But it's not like it's a cakewalk for the Cowboys. But it's wide open. I think that they showed some stuff in that loss to Miami, even though they didn't win the game. In Detroit, what you want to say about it, the controversy, Detroit's a good football team.
That was a good win. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, and they controlled that game for much of that game, and so that was a good win. So give them credit. They're right where they need to be. I mean, obviously they're not perfect, but who's perfect? Detroit's certainly not perfect, and that defense is god awful. So the Cowboys have a shot, and that's all you can ask. I'm talking about the Detroit defense.
Okay, we'll get into that here in a second. But there's one team you mentioned, I think it's worth mentioning. When you look at the playoffs, look, whatever a team was doing in September, October, really even early November, throw the garbage. If you get in there and you're rolling, then okay. And there is a team right now that the Cowboys could face that I think you want to duck, and that's the Rams. The Rams look really bad early, and they are starting to show signs where they're coming together a little bit. They've got a veteran quarterback. A lot of those guys have been here before, so they at least have that going for them. But Green Bay doesn't scare me. Usually what we've seen as the playoffs expand is that there's a big gap between teams 1, 2, and 3 and the rest. And I don't see any of those bottom teams really being a threat, but the Rams, only because of the way they're playing right now. Okay, let's get into what went down on Saturday night, which was a really, really fun night. Jimmy Johnson goes into the Ring of Honor. They do a press conference with Jerry Jones before the game and Jimmy, and that was kind of fun to see. Even if some of it was revisionist history, it was neat to see that all come full circle. And at halftime, it was wonderful. The Jimmy Johnson speech to the crowd was great. The How About Them Cowboys and him celebrating with Michael and Troy and Emmett was phenomenal. And then the final 3 minutes of the game comes down. And both coaches did everything they could to give the game away, except the NFL officials said, no, we got this, boys. Did the Cowboys, forget the Cowboys, did the NFL refs completely screw this up, specifically with that 2-point conversion play, and give a win to the Lions that the Cowboys, give a win to the Cowboys that Detroit earned?
There's so many layers to it. That's not a yes or no question. And because it's interesting how we want to focus on the blown call at the end of the game, but we don't want to focus on the blown tripping call, which was
that horrendous. Changes everything.
Which was horrendous.
The trip call, they called the left hand. They called who they called on Tyron Smith, or they called Peyton Hendershot.
Peyton Hendershot.
They called on a Peyton Hendershot. There was a trip, but it was by Aiden Hutchinson, the Cowboys defensive end. And that was about 2 minutes ago.
The Lions defensive end.
Lions defensive end. So if they call that correctly, which they totally, that was a 15-yard penalty, and it stopped the clock. If they call that penalty correctly, Dallas then can drain the clock significantly and not give Detroit a minute and a half where they walk down the field, score the touchdown with 20 seconds to go.
Right.
That allowed Dan Campbell to say, YOLO, I'm playing on, this is house money. Let's go for 2 in the win. Now it's a question of this. Clearly, the referee got it wrong by failing to recognize that the Lions did report the tackle eligible correctly. What the Lions were trying to do was confuse the Cowboys, but in the process, they confused the refs. According to Dan Campbell, he laid it all out for these guys, and they blew it. When you go into the referee officiating game, well, if they had done this, there's this butterfly effect, and you don't know. At the play, at the time, there's no way around it. Clarence, the refs blew the call.
They did, but they're I mean, it's like there's no reason to subterfuge. I mean, the Rams, I mean, the Lions, and from my understanding is they talked to some refs. They didn't talk to the head ref, before the game, to laying it all out, which was the guy who was the one they were all going to report. Okay, yep. So what you talked about before the game is not the point. The point is you sent 3 guys that referee Brad Allen, okay? Mm-hmm. He announced 70.
Dan Skipper.
And he has to announce it. So you already know before the plays, he announced the wrong guy. You already know this. So once he announced the wrong guy, that means that if your guy goes out, he's ineligible.
So do you think the Lions had it coming to him like, hey, look, you tried to get too cute and you got burned?
Yes,
because to that point, when they made the announcement that 70 is eligible, but they said they reported 68, Clarence, the clock's running.
Right.
The clock's running.
And they have no timeouts. And the thing about it is not only did they send 70 and 68, but they also sent 3 guys at the referee.
Absolutely. And they totally meant to screw it up.
Yes,
they meant to screw up the Cowboys.
Try to screw, but how are you screwing up the Cowboys when they have to announce? I mean, that's just it. The rules state you have to announce who's eligible. So whether you send 3, 4, 5 guys, at the end of the day, they have to announce who's eligible. And so before they announce to the crowd, 70 is eligible or 68 eligible. So the Cowboys know who to guard. Okay.
Well,
that's the point. So to try to fool the Cowboys made no sense. And at the end of the day, you ended up fooling the referee and then fooling yourself.
So the part that I don't quite understand, so they blow the call, right? Then the Lions go for 2 again. Then there's a penalty on the Cowboys. Then they go for it again. Why didn't Dan Campbell just sit there? You know what? I tried it once. It didn't work out. I tried it twice. It didn't work out. Let's just kick the PAT and go to overtime and take the chances.
Listen, we love Dan Campbell.
I know.
That's part of why we love him, but he is stubborn. This is how we do it, and we're going to do it this way. I'm aggressive, and I don't care. I'm going to beat my head against the wall. I mean, forget the 2-point play. If he kicks the field goal inside the 10-yard line in the first half, the game is over. You just kick the extra point, you win the game.
I mean, if we're going to the coaching decisions, look, we both like Mike McCarthy. I know he drives people crazy because some of his late game decisions and clock management, but man, he had a humdinger there with 2 minutes to go in the game. They've got the ball. Dallas apparently gets the game-ending interception by Donovan Wilson.
Right.
All they've got to do is drain the clock. And on 2nd and 11, I think it was 2nd and 11.
Let me reset it for you, and you're right. But understand it was after the tripping.
I know.
So after tripping, they got pushed back, and it was 2nd and long, and Dak fell on the sword because there was a play there where Dak throws the ball underneath, and you drain the clock.
Right.
That was Dak's decision to go deep, not Mike McCarthy. Certainly, Mike was trying to win the game with some play calls, but that was Dak's decision to throw the ball down the field, get the incomplete pass. There was a guy he had 2 receivers underneath. That he admitted that he should have just thrown to. It would have done the same thing, drained the clock. It would have been easy completions. He erred in going deep, not Mike McCarthy.
And I applaud Dak Prescott for taking it because I know you had asked or somebody had asked Mike after the game about it.
Right,
he said, we're trying to put the game away.
Yeah,
and I can appreciate and respect that. But you're also –
and he wasn't going to throw his quarterback under the bus.
No, he can't do that. Yeah. And if Dak made that decision, okay, that's fine. But decisions like that will get you beat, and you can't do that.
Right. That's why Dak said he was on the sideline praying for just, get the ball back with 23 seconds left. Because he understood it. He was really trying to, hoping he didn't know what was going on, but he said they scored 2. I'm ready to get back on the field and try to get back down the field in 23 seconds, like they could do that. But
hey, you got Brandon Aubrey, dude can make it from 75 yards. Okay, we're going to take a break here real quick. We got more to talk about here on Cowboys Overtime. But first, a word from our friends at Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no interest payments for 60 months, 5 full years. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Thank you very much, Window Nation. Mac Ingles, StarTelegram.com. He's Clarence E. Hill Jr. Clarence, before we get into our next topic, I want to share with something that's kind of fun. My parents have been in the same house that I grew up in for 46 years. And in that time, I think my mom has taken out the garbage once. This is a good, bad thing. So when I was a kid, I collected all kinds of sports junk, and she's thrown away none of it. And I've kind of rehabbed some of it. I was going through, when I was back visiting Indiana not too long ago on Christmas time, I came across this gem.
Wow, look at you.
I know this awesome.
Yeah, you were a Cowboy fan back then.
You know what? I was a Tony D. Well, my grandmother loved the Cowboys because they were on Monday Night Football. And my grandparents grew up they lived in Charleston, West Virginia. So we would talk about the Cowboys and Roger and Danny White and all those guys. So yeah, I was a Cowboys fan. But here's another. I've got a whole bunch of these. And I just came across this. My brother was a big Lakers fan. We were a Lakers house in the 80s. Even though we lived in Indiana, I hated Larry Bird. I hated the Celtics. I hated him.
Wow.
I know, right? Doesn't make any sense. So we got this old school Lakers pennant. And if you notice here, can you see it? This is the Forum.
Yeah, the fabulous Forum.
So, yeah, the problem is with all this stuff, Clarence, I'm 50 and I have nothing to do with it. And I don't want to throw it away. So if you want to come over to my house and grab some of it, have at it. Okay, Clarence, you asked the question of Mike McCarthy after the game where he gave you a thanks, Clarence, Happy New Year's. Clarence, is the Dallas Cowboys running game a problem? Jerry said it's not. I say it is. The last 3 games, the Dallas Cowboys have not run for more than 100 yards in any of those 3 games. Currently, they rank 14th in the NFL in rushing, which is okay. This is not the 80s or 90s when you've got to be, a great running team to win a Super Bowl or advance in the playoffs. It's a different era of football. But the bottom line is they have not run the ball well. Tony Bollard's production has steadily decreased, although he is averaging 4 yards a carry, has 5 touchdowns, obviously not the Zeke kind of runner inside the 5 or 10-yard line, which has contributed to that touchdown number. Jerry Jones, like I said, says, hey, Cowboys running game is not a problem. I'm not buying that. Clarence, is Cowboys running game a problem?
Oh, it's a huge problem, and it's crazy because I'm looking at Tony Pollard's stats. He only has 1 rushing or 100-yard rushing game this season. And it was against the Cardinals in that embarrassing double-digit loss. I'm like, that's just crazy. That just jumps out at me. Against the Cardinals, they had a good running game that day. We had 3 offensive linemen out. It must have been some garbage. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how did he have 23 carries for 122 yards in that game. But
right, because you're right, because they got blown out.
Right.
That's hard to do in a blowout. To run for 100 yards in a blowout, it's hard.
Yeah. So, he's at 935. He needs 65 yards or to get 1,000 for the season. To get 1,000 in a 17-game season, not that big of a deal. But it's surprising he's averaging 4 yards a carry because he's had some awful clunkers where he had like 15 carries for 30 yards in some games. It's really surprising that he's up to 4 yards a carry. And you look at that, you think he's done well, but it's the little things. It's like not being able to score against Miami, not being able to run when you want to. And we talked about that game on Saturday, and the Cowboys got the ball twice within the last 5 minutes. And that's when you want to run your 4-minute offense around the clock, and they couldn't do that because of the running game. Certainly even before the tripping penalty, they had a drive before that, they couldn't get anything done on the ground because they can't run when they want. Interesting of note, Dalvin Cook, who a lot of people linked to the Cowboys before the season, just got his release from the Jets, and he's looking to sign with their playoff team. I know the Cowboys are bringing in a couple of guys. They're bringing in Leo Collins today. They're bringing in Damian Wilson in today to see if there can be options for the playoffs to give them depth at those positions. I got a lot of friends who are hitting me up saying I'm contributing for gas money to go pick up Dalvin Cook at the airport. So,
Clarence, we have typically the Cowboys don't do. Is there any chance they're going to sign Dalvin Cook?
I mean, they can sign him to the practice squad and see where he is, see where he fits. I mean, leave no stone unturned. They need help in that backfield. They certainly need to be better blockers up front, but they need help in the backfield for sure.
Tyler Smith suffered a foot injury.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's going to play through. I don't even know how to say it. Plantar fascia.
No, plantar fasciitis.
Plantar fasciitis. He's going to play through it, and now they're looking at the guy. You just mentioned it, that they cut because they didn't like him, and that's La'el Collins, who went to the Bengals, and the Bengals got tired of him, even though he did suffer a torn ACL last year. But, I like the guy. I'm assuming that if they do sign and then put him on the practice squad to put him in game shape, is this only as a reserve emergency type?
Yeah,
deal?
these are all insureds. Yeah, for sure. Just like Damian Wilson, former Cowboys linebacker, they have no, they need help at linebacker. They've been needing help at linebacker. But yeah, Tyron Smith had the back injury that can flare up at any time. Yeah. Tyler Smith has a foot injury. You don't like you don't have any proven quality backups. So you're just throwing some stuff against the wall in case you might need La'el Collins to come and help you out. You're not asking him to come in and start, but you're asking him if one of those guys go down, here's a guy who's done it before, who's done it at a high level before, can come in and pitch in, because Chuma Edoga was awful against Miami and replaced Tyron Smith.
Bigger concern, Cowboys running game, Cowboys run defense.
Well, to me, it's the run defense, because Dak Prescott and that pass offense has it going, and they can supplement the running game with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks and some different things like that. And the way Dak and CeeDee Lamb have it going, it's something special. They really have it going. That was a great game by CeeDee Lamb, but Dak played well against Detroit. So the run defense, again, in the playoffs, you got to be able to stop the run. And again, the way the Cowboys are successful, and they were able to slow the run down against Detroit as it did against Miami, because they were able to get out front and on offense, and play a different game on offense. So the offense sets the tone, get to, stop the run and get to the quarterback on defense. That's certainly what they need to do.
Let's shift gears here for our last topic here on Cowboys Overtime.
Do we have
talk about the game you attended? You attended the national semifinal game last night in New Orleans, where unfortunately the Texas Longhorns proved us both wrong by losing to the Washington Huskies and quarterback Michael Penix. I'm going to give myself some credit here, because I voted for Michael Penix to win the Heisman Trophy. He finished second to LSU's Jaden Daniels, and last night he went out and killed Bevo. Michael Penix was sensational, the third quarter especially. Quinn Ewers, who is the man pictured in that photo right there, is the starting quarterback right now. First of all, you tweeted it during the game, and it's funny. One of the reasons I thought Texas would win is that I thought they would get more stops. But Michael Penix was great, and you said Texas really didn't have the pass rush. They finally brought a few more guys, but doing that against a senior like Penix is tough. Did that pass rush, did that defense, is that a matter of being exposed by a better passer, or is this a matter of this is what the defense was all season for Texas and no one really exploited it because they really didn't hit anybody, go against a guy good enough to do it?
No, first of all, the pass defense has been a problem, and we go back to the UH games, some other games that they gave up some plays. But again, the pass rush has been a problem. They don't really have an edge rusher. The best players are their defensive tackles, their run stoppers. Devontae Sweat, they're not pass. Yeah, but he's a run stopper. Penix had a great game, but he had all day to throw. He had no heat. He was stepped to the side, and he's so accurate. Think about it, is they have not faced a quarterback as accurate. His accuracy was off the charts, and he had it going last night. But again, just like in the NFL, it's rush and cover. Everybody, people are secondary's office, and the secondary did have a bad game. But the receivers are just running because the quarterback is not off his spot. He's just throwing where he wants to throw, and you have to help your secondary out by rushing. It should not be a 7-on-7 where you're just out there throwing it with no pass rush. And that's what it was. The crazy thing about it is, as great as Penix was, and as many mistakes as Texas had, because Texas had more penalties, which I don't know why they had more penalties, but they had more penalties. They had the 2 fumbles that were costly. Okay, 2 fumbles that were costly. I always felt they should win the game on offense. I felt because Washington's pass defense is not that good. They didn't get the ball to Worthy the whole first 3 quarters. They didn't get the ball to the other receiver to the 4th quarter. Makes no sense. None of that made sense. You had 2 fumbles by running back, but with 10 seconds left, you got the first down on the 13-yard line with a chance to win the game. And after everything that happened, they had a chance to win that game with 10 seconds left. And Sark, the play calling master, he laid an egg. And Quinn, as you want to get to Quinn, he made some bad decisions. That the 4th down throw was there. If he throws it low, they had backed up. You go watch that play again.
No, the receivers running. You're right.
The receivers running to his zone.
If he throws that ball at the pylon,
he just lofts it like it's another jump ball. But the guy was behind. There's no reason to throw the jump ball. Okay, he threw the jump ball with his.
But you know what? Go back and watch it again. Hang on that first. So first of all, Washington wins. Washington deserved to win the game.
No doubt.
There's no doubt. And the only reason Texas had a prayer is because of a bad luck injury suffered by Washington running back Dylan Johnson that stopped the clock and forced Washington to punt it away, which gave Texas 45 seconds instead of about 15 to drive the field. Now, Quinn Ewers made a sensational throw down the right sideline that put them in a position to potentially score the touchdown that would have won the game. On the first down play, I didn't hate it because I thought, okay, he sees something he likes, and they get the timeout by running out of bounds on the check down pass.
Right.
The other one, that last pass, obviously the 3rd down pass, they brought a blitzer off the edge, and he had to get rid of it, and they gave him a second left, which was the right call.
Right.
It was the right call to give them a second. That's when the ball went out of bounds. On that 4th down play, with a second to go, the play is there. There was a Washington defensive player that was in his way. And here's the difference between Michael Penix and Quinn Ewers. If that same rusher's coming to Michael Penix, he steps aside and he makes the throw. Right. Quinn got rid of it. And you cannot say Quinn is a bad quarterback. You can't. He's evolved. He's matured. Texas won the Big 12. He won at Alabama. They get to the playoff. He has a decent game. No interceptions. Threw a lot of incompletions. I don't get the Xavier Worthy thing. Why it was like he wasn't even in the game. That I don't get. The last pass, to me, that's the difference between a guy who is really, really good, like Penix, and what Quinn did is that's not a bad ball. You need a better ball to make that completion and ultimately to win the game. And the difference, as you and I know, that game was about the quarterback, and Michael Penix is a badass, and Quinn is really good. So my question to you is, and you and I are having some fun with this on Facebook here a minute ago on social media, Texas got a problem. I mean, it's a good problem to have. You've got Quinn, who I think by all accounts is good. And the plan was, had it gone according to plan, he would be declaring for the NFL draft this month. He's not going to do that now. He shouldn't. But now he's got Arch Manning behind him. And this is not like Malik Murphy or some other guy who was a 5-star or 4-star kid who's waiting his turn. This is a Manning. This is quarterback royalty. And this isn't, and I know people justifiably have made the comparisons, and you can speak to this further. Major Applewhite and Chris Sims 20 years ago at Texas, and how Mac Brown handled that. Sark has a good problem. I don't know how, though, you manage this one, because Arch Manning did not go to Texas to sit for 2 years. Clarence, the floor is yours.
You know, I had argued with my friends last night about the same conversation. It's like the picture you showed earlier about Arch.
Yeah.
People have lost their minds about Arch Manning. Okay. And, just because he's a man and because he's first of all, they've lost their minds. He was never transferring. All these rumors about Arch Manning, he was never transferring. He's going to transfer. I argue when Arch signed with Texas. Another friend of mine said he's going to take the job as a true freshman. He's going to run Quinn out of there. People have lost their minds about the potential of what he can do. I had a friend of mine. We argued, last night at the game. They should have put Archie there for one play to change it up. Why? He's not your best quarterback. So this whole notion that Arch is somehow going to take the job from Quinn, that's not going to happen. That's not true. And the notion that Arch didn't come to sit, you don't know what Arch has. Everything he said, he likes being a student at Texas. He likes he understands the situation. As a Manning family, they also understand they want their guy developed. They understand the process. They're not in the right. It's not like he needs the money. He don't need to run to the NFL. It's not the same as other guys. But from a Texas standpoint, going into the SEC first year, you're losing your receivers. You want a veteran quarterback, to go into the SEC. You don't want to start a first-year starter with playing at Michigan and all these games against Georgia and all. You want a veteran quarterback and let the football decide. First of all, ears get hurt every year. He misses 2 or 3 games every year. So there could be an opportunity there, but the idea that he's looking over his shoulder, but that's part of the game. But he's an experienced quarterback. He's going to get better. He has room to grow as well. You talk about Penix. Penix has been in school 6 years. He's old as damn Dak Prescott. Okay, he's old as Dak Prescott. Okay, let Ears be there 6 years. He'd be accurate too.
Oh, I looked. I forgot. But I do think, and we've talked about this before, and I've thought about this a lot. If at some point, because he's going to play, and the second game of the season is at Michigan. I think if you're Quinn, and look, Quinn, he's not just Quinn. There's a lot of guys in high school right now, or juniors and seniors, who are already looking ahead, whether they should or not. They are. And I think if you're Quinn, you're like, well, wait a minute. This guy's a threat to my job. Do I want to stay? And to your points, to your friend's points about, Arch is going to leave. Look, in this era, it's all on the table. It is. No matter how absurd it is, no matter how stupid it is, but you have to consider it.
Okay, but understand this. If it's not on the table now, it won't be on the table next year because it will be his job. The only time it will be on the table is now.
Yeah,
because if Quinn's a starter, if next year it's Arch's job the following year, so there's no reason for him to transfer. Okay, so there's no reason for him to portal out. He will be the heir apparent. So there's no question about that.
The only reason you do, if you just like, I want to play right now. I want to play football right now.
Yeah, but
this is why you only. This is not basketball. This is not tennis. This is not golf. Football is football, and you only play football when you're playing organized football. There's no pickup basketball.
The only way you can transfer and play right now is to transfer right now. Okay.
So the one I'm thinking more about is if Quinn would do it. And
Quinn's not leaving. I've talked to his agents, people different side. He's not going anywhere. There's no reason for him to go
anywhere. I'll tell you what, you're wearing purple, but you might as well be wearing burnt orange because all this
crap. How does burnt orange? Why would Quinn leave? Quinn's the starter. There's no question about him leaving.
Hang on, Todd. This is why you leave. Because you don't want to look over your shoulder. Because you want to know that I'm the guy. Because
that's your narrative.
It's not. It's just, Clarence, that's what happens. And if he goes, let's just say something happens in Michigan. He gets hurt. He's got an Arch comes in and lights it up. He's done. And you and I both know that.
Okay, but that's how football goes. But Quinn is not considered. That's not even on the table. So I don't know why we're talking about it. It's not on the table.
Because it was a lot of fun to talk about.
And the dirty little secret is coming out of high school. Quinn was a higher rated quarterback than Arch. Okay,
so we're talking. It's a fun topic to talk about. And two, did you ever give your kids like a Jack in the Box?
I don't know. I don't think they did Jack in the Box.
Okay, but you're familiar with the Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
Okay, when it comes to certain subjects, you're like a Jack in the Box.
No. So I'm not trying to. You're not going to jump. I'm not jumping off sides here because it's silly. He's not going anywhere. Art's not going anywhere. Quinn's not going anywhere.
Okay. No one's going to. Texas is going to win.
Not those two guys. Not those two guys.
Clarence, here's the bottom line. The team you need to be afraid of in the fall, Kansas Jayhawks. Okay?
Oh, no.
Quarterback's coming back. Running back's coming back. DB's coming back.
They don't play them, so good for you.
Well, they will in the playoffs. Okay. Cowboys at Washington on Sunday. Cowboys are 13-point favorites. Give me your predictions straight up. You're going to win the season thing between you and me. The picks by a game at least. Will Dallas cover a 13-point line?
Dallas wins. Dallas covers. This Washington team is not like last year's Washington team. Their coach is gone. Their quarterback, they've already given up on him. They got new ownership. They've already given away 2 of their best defensive players in trades. What does this team have to play for? What do they have to look good for? There's nothing.
Check.
What was crazy last week? They bitched their quarterback in favor of Jacoby Brissett. They go out and talk about how bad Sam Howell was. Then Jacoby Brissett gets hurt and have to play Sam Howell. It's a mess in Washington.
You know, and I really thought with the new ownership group, it can't get any worse than Dan Snyder or David Tepper in Carolina for that matter. But I really thought that they might start looking a little bit better. They don't have a quarterback. They're terrible. They've burned it to the ground. I agree. Dallas wins. Dallas covers. Okay, Clarence, have a great trip back. Be safe. And have a great trip to Washington. Go to Big Ben. Go to Ben's Chili Bowl for me.
I will. You know, one thing last night solved is that I really was in a conundrum of coming back from Washington next Monday and trying to get to Houston for the championship game if Texas had won.
Problem
so now
solved. They took care of you.
Problem solved.
For all your Cowboys coverage needs and everything else, make sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. Kenny Bolden, our fearless producer, thank you very much. Happy New Year. See you next week.